The wedding car had an accident. He carried his childhood friend with a scraped elbow onto the ambulance, leaving me bleeding in my wedding dress by the roadside. 3 days later, he came to the hospital to find the bride. The doctor sneered. Before she left, she said it might be better to turn this wedding into a funeral. The wedding car slammed into the guardrail. I was still in my wedding dress, glass shattered everywhere. The front of the car looked like someone had crushed it with a fist. My calf was pinned under the seat, the hem of my wedding dress soaked in blood. The driver was slumped over the wheel, shouting for help. My bridesmaid, Tang Miao, went pale with fear and rushed over to steady me. Shutong, don't move, your leg is bleeding. I glanced down, blood seeped through the gauze-thin fabric of my skirt. Dripping one by one onto the car mat, Jiang Chenju sprinted over from the car behind. I thought he'd come to me first after all. Today was our wedding. We'd been together for 6 years, from college to work, from renting to buying a house, from the first time his mother looked down on my modest family background to the day she finally nodded and said, "Fine, just make do with it." I thought at least in a moment like this, he'd remember I was his bride, but he passed me by and ran to the other car. Shen Jixia sat in the passenger seat. A tiny patch of skin scraped off the back of her hand, her eyes were red-rimmed, and she leaned against the car door, her voice trembling. "Chenju, I'm so scared, my chest hurt just now." Jiang Chenju scooped her up in his arms. "Jixia, don't be afraid, I'm here." Tang Miao froze, then shouted at him, "Jiang Chenju, Shutong is still in the car, she's bleeding." Jiang Chenju paused mid-step. He turned to look at me. That glance was so brief, it felt like he was brushing past an inconvenience. "Get her out first. The ambulance is on its way," he said. "Jixia has a chronic condition, she can't take any shocks." I gripped the car door, my knuckles white. Tang Miao's voice cracked with anger. "She just scraped her skin. Shutong is stuck." Shen Jixia let out a soft cough in Jiang Chenju's arms, tears streaming down her face. "Chenju, am I holding you up? Don't worry about me. Sister Shutong will blame me." Jiang Chenju frowned. "Don't talk." The ambulance arrived first. The medics came down with a stretcher. Jiang Chenju carried Shen Jixia straight toward it. I sat in the wrecked wedding car, the wind blowing in, making me shiver with cold. I called out to him, "Jiang Chenju." He stopped at the ambulance door. I asked, "Are you sure you're taking her first?" He looked at me, impatience flickering across his face. "Shutong, don't make a scene over jealousy at a time like this. Jixia's condition is unstable. You've still got Tang Miao and the driver here." I forced a smile. My lips were dry, and the smile hurt. "I'm bleeding, I know," he said. "Be strong." Those 5 words crushed the last bit of pain I had into coldness. The ambulance door closed, red and blue lights flashed before my eyes, like a grotesque celebration. Tang Miao cursed under her breath, knelt down, and pressed on my wound. "Sheng, hang in there, I've called a second ambulance." I didn't look back at the direction Jiang Chenju had gone. I took off my wedding ring. It was the one Jiang Chenju had picked out himself, with our initials engraved inside the band. On the day he proposed, he said he'd never let me face anything alone. Now, it was stained with blood. I shoved the ring into Tang Miao's palm. "Hold on to this for me." Tang Miao's eyes reddened. "Don't talk, just stop the bleeding first. When I wake up," I said, staring at the ring. "This thing goes back to him." More than 10 minutes later, the second ambulance finally arrived. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, my wedding dress dragged on the ground, leaving a long red trail of blood. Relatives whispered among themselves. Someone said, "How unlucky for the bride, seeing blood on her wedding day." Someone else said, "Chenju had no choice. Jixia has been frail since she was a kid." And another muttered, "Yi Shutong usually seems so sensible. She's not going to make a scene over Jixia today, is she?" I closed my eyes. Every word, every whisper, I remembered them all. By the time I got to the hospital, I was already feeling cold. The nurse cut away the hem of my wedding dress. Dr. Chen Cheng took one look at the wound and immediately arranged for stitches and tests. "Who's the family?" the nurse asked. Tang Miao rushed forward. "I'm her friend." The nurse asked again. "And the groom?" Tang Miao gritted her teeth. "He's with someone else." Chen Cheng glanced at me, didn't ask further, and just said, "Let's treat the wound first." As the needle and thread pierced my skin, I trembled with pain. Tang Miao held my hand. "Shutong, I've called your mom, she's on her way." I nodded. My phone buzzed non-stop on the bedside table. The wedding group chat was flooded with messages. Jiang Chenju's mother, Zhu Guilan, sent a voice message, her voice sharp and thin. Don't panic, everyone. Let's pause the wedding. Jixia got quite a scare, so Chenju went with her for a checkup. Shutong's side shouldn't be a big deal, girls get emotional on their wedding day, so please bear with her. I stared at that voice message and suddenly found it ridiculous. 7 stitches in my leg, a bruised lower back, my head, because I hit the car window, needed observation, but in Mother Jiang's words, I was just emotional. I didn't reply. I had Tang Miao screenshot and save all the group messages as she did it. Tang Miao cursed. This family is a piece of work, I said. Don't curse, save them. She paused. I added, they'll come in handy later. That night, my mom, Lin Xiaolan, arrived at the hospital. She was still wearing her noodle shop apron, with flour stains that wouldn't wash off on her hands. The moment she walked in and saw the gauze on my leg, tears fell on the spot. Tong tong. Does it hurt? I hadn't cried before, but her question made my eyes sting. I didn't let the tears fall, though. Mom, I'm not getting married. My mom froze. She looked at me, then at the torn wedding dress, and suddenly reached out to pat my head. Okay, no wedding. No persuasion, no questions. No, we're already this far into it. Just 4 words, okay. No wedding. At that moment, I felt more like crying than I had at the accident scene that night. Jiang Chenju didn't come. He sent me a message. Jixia is still under observation. You've got Tang Miao and Auntie. I'll come see you tomorrow morning. Don't make a scene about the wedding. Mom's already exhausted. I stared at it for a long time, then I handed my phone to Tang Miao. Screenshot. Tang Miao gritted her teeth and did it. I opened my bank account and cancelled the automatic monthly transfer of 5,000 yuan I'd set up for Jiang Chunzhou's mother as living expenses. Then I opened the wedding balance page and stopped the payment. Finally, I changed Jiang Chunzhou's contact name from Chenju to pending settlement. After all that, I leaned back on the pillow outside the window. The emergency room lights were on. I heard another ambulance arrive. This hospital sees people brought in every day, and people leave every day, and on my wedding day, I finally woke up from a 6-year-long self-deception. At 3 in the morning, a nurse came by for rounds. She saw the ring photo on my phone screen and sighed. Girl, don't push yourself. I asked her, which ward is Jixia in? The nurse hesitated, then said, emergency observation. Nothing serious, just a scratch on her hand and some shock from the scare. I laughed, and Jiang Chenju, he's with her, the nurse said, her voice softer. He signed as the family member. I didn't say anything. The nurse thought I was upset and quickly added, don't overthink it. Focus on healing. Of course, I'd think, but not about why he didn't come, about where to start the settlement tomorrow. Jiang Chenju only came to see me on the 3rd day. By then, I'd already completed my discharge procedures. My leg was still healing, so I had to lean on Tang Miao to walk. Dr. Chen Cheng advised against discharge, but my mom said it'd be easier to care for me at home, and I didn't want to stay in this hospital waiting for someone who was late. Before I left, Chen Cheng handed me my medical records and test results. Don't get the wound wet, change the dressing on time, rest for the lower back bruise, come back for a checkup if you feel dizzy. I took them and said thanks. Chen Cheng glanced at my plain jacket, then at the torn wedding dress bagged up. She suddenly asked, still want that wedding? I shook my head, no. Chen Cheng nodded, her tone calm. Good, a person has to live like themselves first. Half an hour after I was discharged, Jiang Chenju burst into the ward. Tang Miao told me later that he was still wearing the suit jacket from the wedding day. Though the collar was wrinkled and his eyes were bloodshot, he saw the empty bed and froze. Where's Yi Shutong? The nurse said, discharged. Jiang Chenju frowned. Who approved that? Chen Cheng happened to walk out of her office, holding a medical chart. She looked at him. She approved it herself, with her mother's signature. And you are? Jiang Chenzhou's face darkened. I'm her fiancé. Chen Cheng let out a cold laugh. Fiancé? Jiang Chenju was annoyed. Doctor, what's with that attitude? Chen Cheng closed the chart, her voice low but enough to quiet the nearby nurses. She was brought in wearing a wedding dress, with 7 stitches in her leg. The one who signed as her guardian was the bridesmaid. You carried another woman into the ER and signed as her family member. Now, 3 days later, you're asking where she is. Jiang Chenzhou's face went stiff. Jixia's situation is special. I'm not ignoring Shutong. Before she left, she said. Chen Cheng looked at him. It'd be better if this wedding turned into a funeral. Jiang Chenju froze. What? Chen Cheng read his expression and said flatly, the funeral's for the wedding. Don't worry, she's alive and well. I was in the back room of my mom's noodle shop, changing my bandages, when I heard Tang Miao relay this. Tang Miao mimicked Chen Cheng's tone perfectly. My mom handed me a bowl of kanji and said, "That doctor had a good point." I smiled. My phone rang. It was Jiang Chenju. I didn't answer. He called again on the third call. I picked up. His voice was strained with anger. "Yi Shuteng, why didn't you tell me you were discharged from the hospital?" I looked at the gauze on my leg and said, "You're busy." He was silent for 2 seconds. "I know you felt wronged on the wedding day, but Jixia was scared into chest pain. She had an incident when she was little, you know that?" I asked. "So my bleeding doesn't count as an incident?" Jiang Chenju took an irritated breath. "That's not what I meant. Don't compare yourself to her." "Then who should I compare myself to?" He didn't answer. I heard a soft female voice on the other end. "Chenju, don't argue with Sister Shutong. It's all my fault." Shen Jixia, her voice was soft like a needle. Jiang Chenju immediately lowered his tone. "Don't get up." I put the call on speaker. Tang Miao heard that and her face went dark. I asked, "Jiang Chenju, where are you now?" He paused. "At the hospital, with Shen Jixia. She still needs observation." I laughed. "She has a scrape on her hand and gets 3 days of observation. I have 7 stitches in my leg and discharged myself." "Nice." Jiang Chenju's voice dropped. "Yi Shutong, don't be sarcastic. The wedding was already a mess, and everyone feels terrible. Come back first, and we'll handle the aftermath." "I'll handle it myself." "What do you mean?" I picked up the file folder on the table. Inside were medical records, payment receipts, the wedding contract, the wedding car contract, and the ring Tang Miao had saved for me. "It means the wedding is cancelled, the engagement is off, the wedding house, wedding costs, your family's loans, and the living expenses I transferred to your mom will settle every single item." The line went quiet. After a few seconds, Jiang Chenju sounded like he'd heard a joke. "Shutong, haven't you made enough of a scene?" I wasn't angry really when someone's heart is completely cold. The anger fades. I said, "Jiang Chenju, I'm not making a scene, I'm informing you. Just because I took Jixia to the hospital first, not just because." I looked at the calendar on the wall. "Because for 6 years, every time you made me give in to her." His breathing got heavier. "Jixia has no family. She only has us. My dad died early. My mom raised me alone running a noodle shop." I said, "I don't have much family either, but I never used that to hold anyone hostage." Jiang Chenju said quietly, "You weren't like this before." I laughed. "Yeah, I was too easy to use before." After I said that, the line went completely silent. I continued, "Before 6 tonight, I'll send you the settlement sheet. I'll mail the ring back. The wedding house, I paid the down payment and the renovation costs. You and your mom have 3 days to move your stuff out." Jiang Chenju finally panicked. "The wedding house too, Yi Shutong, that was *R* wedding house." "Not anymore." I hung up. Tang Miao slammed the table beside me. "Hell yeah, about time." My mom didn't say anything. She pushed the kanji closer to me. "Eat first. You need strength to settle accounts." I lowered my head and drank the kanji. The steam hit my face, and I suddenly remembered the day 3 years ago when I bought the wedding house. Jiang Chenju said he was tight on money and would pay me back later. Jiang's mother said it wasn't good for a woman to be too calculating before marriage, and putting both names on the house would make it feel like a family. I didn't agree to add his name. Back then, Jiang's mother's face was sour for a whole month. Later, she changed tactics. She had me pay for the renovation, buy the furniture, and cover Jiang Chenju's credit card bills, saying we were all family. I kept records too before. I kept records so I'd know the numbers when we started our life together. Now, I keep records so they know I'm not the woman they claimed latched onto the Jiang family empty-handed. That afternoon, I sent the settlement sheet to Jiang Chenju. Item 1, down payment for the wedding house, 860,000 renminbi, paid from Yi Shutong's personal account. Item 2, renovation costs, 237,600 renminbi, furniture and appliances, 164,200 RMB. Item 3, wedding hotel deposit, wedding planning, fleet, and wedding photos, totaling 213,000. Item 4, over the past 2 years, payments for Jiang's mother's medical checkups, medication, and living expenses, totaling 135,000. Item 5, compensation for personal injury caused by the last-minute route change during the wedding accident, to be calculated separately after the traffic. Police's assessment after the message was sent. Jiang Chenju didn't reply. 10 minutes later, Jiang's mother posted in the family group chat, "Everyone, be the judge, there was an accident on the wedding day, and Yi Shutong is throwing a tantrum, refusing to come back. Now she's listing bills and demanding money, saying our Jiang family owes her. Our Chenju is really unlucky to have married such a cold-blooded woman." I stared at the message. Tang Miao asked, "Reply?" I said, "Yes, I sent the first wedding payment receipt into the group, then I sent the second, the third, until no one in the group spoke. Finally, I typed, Aunt Ju, the bill isn't a tantrum, it's a breakup." After I sent the word breakup, the family group was silent for a full minute. A minute later, Jiang Chenju's second aunt jumped in first. "Shutong, why are you being so unreasonable? No one wanted an accident on the wedding day. Chenju taking care of Jixia was an emergency. Why do you have to make such a big deal?" I didn't reply to her. I directly sent an emergency room record. It was written clearly: left calf laceration, sutured with 7 stitches, lumbar soft tissue contusion, mild concussion, pending observation. Someone in the group started posting ellipses. I also sent Shen Jixia's emergency treatment sheet: superficial abrasion on the back of the hand, emotional agitation, rest recommended. Tang Miao watched from the side and laughed. "This comparison is perfect." Jiang's mother quickly deleted her earlier rant about me, but I had already screenshotted it. She posted again, "Who can understand medical records like that? Jixia has been weak since childhood. Emotional shock is worse than physical injury. Shutong, as the older sister, you shouldn't be so petty." I stared at the words older sister and found them absurd. Shen Jixia is a year younger than me, but from the day she appeared, everyone in the Jiang family told me to give in to her. She said she liked the wedding bouquet I had chosen. And Jiang's mother said, "Jixia just has this little wish. You can pick another one." She said she wanted to ride in the car behind the main wedding car, and Jiang Chenju said, "She gets car sick. I'll feel better if she's closer to us." She said she was anxious the night before the wedding. And Jiang Chenju stayed up chatting with her until 2 a.m., leaving me alone at the hotel to check the schedule. Back then, I told myself not to mind. Now I think, it wasn't that I didn't mind, it was that they kept pushing further. I sent the wedding schedule to the group. "Aunt Ju, I'm not Shen Jixia's sister, nor her caretaker. On the wedding day, her seat, the car order, and her medication bag were all confirmed by me in advance. Who suggested the last-minute route change? I'll find out." After I sent this, Shen Jixia appeared in the group for the first time. "Sister Shutong, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Don't blame Auntie or Chenju. I really didn't think you'd get hurt." She attached a photo of her hand wrapped in gauze. The angle was well chosen. A small piece of gauze made it look like a serious injury. Someone in the group immediately showed concern. "Jixia is hurt too. Neither of them is having it easy. Shutong, don't be so aggressive." I didn't explain. I just sent a photo of my wedding dress stained with blood. It was taken by Tang Miao at the emergency room entrance. In the photo, I was sitting in a wheelchair, my wedding dress cut open, my calf wrapped in thick gauze, my face pale without a trace of color. The group went completely silent. After a while, a cousin's wife who rarely spoke posted, "That injury looks serious. Did Chenju really not accompany Shutong?" No one answered because the answer was too ugly. Jiang Chenju finally spoke in the group. "Enough. Don't make a scene in the group over private matters." I replied, "Your mother was the one who first said in the group that I ran off with the money." Jiang Chenju, "She was just anxious. When I was bleeding, you were anxious too, just anxious to hold someone else." After sending this, I left the group. Tang Miao clapped, "Beautiful." But my mother frowned. "They won't let this go." She was right. At 4 p.m., Jiang's mother showed up at the noodle shop with 2 relatives, blocking the entrance. It was peak hours, and all the tables were full. As soon as Jiang's mother walked in, she started crying. "Everyone look, my son had an accident on his wedding day, and instead of standing by him, his daughter-in-law is listing bills and demanding money. Our family married a daughter-in-law, not a creditor." All the customers turned to look. My mother came out from behind the stove, her face dark. "Ju Guilan, don't cause trouble in my shop." Mom immediately pointed at my mother. "Lin Xiulan, look at the fine daughter you raised. Before the wedding's even off, she's trying to peel a layer off our Jiang family. We gave the bride price, we paid for the banquet, and now she wants the house too." I grabbed the chair and stood up. A jolt of pain shot through my leg, and I paused. Tang Miao moved to help me, but I stopped her step by step. I walked up to Jiang's mother. Aunt Ju, you gave a bride price of 88,000. Of that, 60,000 was taken back the same day. You said it was for Jiang Chenzhou's cousin to tide things over. The remaining 28,000 went toward the wedding hotel deposit. Want me to post the transfer records right outside the door? Jiang's mother's face changed color. The customers watching began to murmur among themselves. I continued. The banquet deposit was paid by me. The wedding planning was paid by me. The wedding car was paid by me. All your Jiang family paid for was 1 carton of cigarettes and 2 cases of liquor, and you even asked me to reimburse you because the invoice header was wrong. Tang Miao immediately pulled copies from the file bag and spread them out on the table. One by one, a relative beside Jiang's mother tried to grab them, but Tang Miao held them down. Don't touch them. If you break them, you pay full price. Jiang's mother's voice turned shrill. We're family. We're living together. Why do you have to be so calculating? I looked at her. Because we're not family anymore. The moment those words fell, the shop went silent. The fake crying look on Jiang's mother's face froze. You really want to call off the wedding? Yes, you've thought this through. A 28-year-old woman, calling off her wedding on the big day. Who's going to want you after this? My mom suddenly grabbed the rag off the table and slammed it hard into the basin. My daughter isn't merchandise. Nobody needs to want her. Jiang's mother was taken aback. I was stunned too. My mom usually hates confrontation. All these years, Jiang's mother had been subtly looking down on our family, and she just took it. She always said marriage is about 2 families, and she didn't want to make things hard for me, but now, she stood in front of me, her voice trembling, yet she didn't back down an inch. Zhu Guilan, my daughter was bleeding in her wedding dress, and your son did nothing, and you still have the nerve to come to my shop and throw a tantrum. If you have any shame, pay back what you owe. If you don't, I'll take this all the way to the police station with you. A customer in the shop muttered. This in-law family is way out of line. Jiang's mother couldn't take it anymore. She pointed at me. Yi Shutong, don't you regret this? I said, the only thing I regret is that it took me this long to wake up. Jiang's mother stormed off in a huff after she left. My mom turned to go back to the kitchen, but her hands were shaking badly. I steadied her. Mom, she lowered her head, wiping away tears. Tong Tong, I used to think if you just endure, things will pass. Now I know, some people, the more you let them walk all over you, the more they'll stomp. I held her hand. No more enduring. That night, Jiang Chenzhou showed up at the noodle shop. He didn't come inside, just stood under the streetlight. When I went out, he looked at the bandage on my leg, and for the first time, there was a flicker of panic in his eyes. Still hurts, I said. Get to the point. His Adam's apple bobbed. My mom shouldn't have come to cause trouble today. I apologize on her behalf. Tell her to apologize herself. Shutong. We've been together for 6 years. Do we really have to end it like this? I looked at him. The streetlight stretched his shadow long. This man. I loved him for 6 years. I knew his stomach was weak. I knew he hated cilantro. I knew he'd pinch the bridge of his nose when he was stressed. I knew that every time he spoke up for Shenjixia, he'd start by saying my name first. Shutong, be reasonable. Shutong, Jixia has it hard. Shutong, don't make this difficult for me. Before, these words were like ropes, tying me down. Now, the ropes are cut. I said, I'm not the one making it difficult. You're the ones who owe. Jiang Chenzhou closed his eyes. Let's not talk about the wedding house for now. My mom's health isn't good. She can't take any shocks. I laughed. See, there it is again. He frowned. What? Every time I bring up my own injury, you talk about Shenjixia. Every time I bring up money, you talk about your mom's health. Jiang Chenzhou. Everyone in your family has their own hardships, and I'm the only one who's supposed to just suck it up and be reasonable. Jiang Chenzhou's face went pale. He wanted to say something else, but his phone rang on the screen. Shenjixia's name popped up. He answered on instinct. Jixia. Through the phone, Shenjixia's sobs came in broken fragments. Chenzhou, my hand hurts so much. The doctor said it might leave a scar. Does this mean I'll never be able to play the piano again? Jiang Chenzhou's face immediately tensed up. I'll be right there. Only after he said that did he remember I was still standing in front of him. He looked at me, a flash of awkwardness in his eyes. Shutong, I'll find you later. I nodded. Go ahead. He paused. As if he wasn't used to me being this calm, I added one more sentence. From today on, every time you go see her, you don't need to explain to me anymore, because it has nothing to do with me now. On the fourth day, I went back to the wedding house to pick up some things. That apartment was in the south of the city, not big, 89 square meters. The down payment came from 5 years of my savings, plus the money my mom got from selling a small shop in our hometown. Jiang Chenju said back then that he had just been promoted and all his money was tied up in training and loans. I believed him. The property deed only had my name on it. That was the one thing I never backed down on back then. Jiang's mother had been passive-aggressive about it for a long time, saying I treated their Jiang family like thieves. Thinking about it now, she was right. I should have guarded against them. Tang Miao went upstairs with me. As soon as the door opened, there was a strange perfume smell inside. I stopped in my tracks. Tang Miao smelled it too, and her face changed. Who's in there? The master bedroom door was open. Shen Jixia was sitting at my vanity table, wearing the white silk robe I had prepared for the morning wedding shoot. Her hair was down, and she didn't look sick at all. She was trying on my earrings in front of the mirror. When she saw me, she scrambled to her feet. Sister Shutong, why are you here? I looked at the robe she was wearing. This is my home. Her face flushed, and she immediately put on a hurt expression. Chenju said no one was staying here for now, and I couldn't sleep well at the hospital, so he told me to come rest here. Tang Miao exploded on the spot. You're wearing someone else's clothes, sitting at their vanity, and you call that resting? Shen Jixia's eyes reddened again. I didn't know these were Sister Shutong's things. I was just cold and grabbed whatever was handy. I walked over and opened the closet. Inside, my wedding dress was shoved into a corner, and 3 of Shen Jixia's dresses were hanging. On the nightstand were her pillbox, hand cream, and a pink water cup. This wasn't a temporary stay, this was moving in. I pulled out my phone and took pictures. Shen Jixia reached out to block me. What are you taking pictures of? I looked at her. Evidence of illegal occupation of someone else's residence and damage to personal property. Her face changed. Sister Shutong, don't make it sound so ugly. Chenju and I grew up together. He was just worried no one was taking care of me. I said, so he moved you into my wedding house. She bit her lip and said nothing. Just then, Jiang Chenju showed up. He must have been called by Shen Jixia. As soon as he walked in and saw me taking pictures, his face darkened. Yi Shutong, what do you want now? I pointed at the robe Shen Jixia was wearing. Tell her to take it off. Jiang Chenju frowned. She's not feeling well. Do you have to humiliate her like this? I looked at him and suddenly realized how bad my taste had been before. He used that line so smoothly whenever Shen Jixia was upset. Taking back what was yours became an act of humiliating her. I said, this is my clothes. She took it without asking. That's stealing. Shen Jixia started crying. Chenju, I really didn't know. I was just too cold. Jiang Chenju stepped in front of her. Shutong, it's just a piece of clothing. I'll pay you back. Fine, I said. The robe is 3,800, the earrings are 1,200, and the bedding she used, the whole set, is 2,600. Transfer it now. Jiang Chenju froze. Tang Miao laughed out loud beside me. Shen Jixia stiffened too. She hadn't expected me to actually tally it up. Jiang Chenju's face was sour. Since when did you become so petty? I opened my phone's payment QR code. Since the day you carried her onto the ambulance. He stared at me like I was a stranger. I didn't look away. In the end, he actually transferred the money, maybe because he felt embarrassed, or maybe because he was afraid I'd keep taking pictures. After I received the payment, I opened my suitcase and started packing my ID and important items. Tang Miao helped me gather the contracts. I put the property deed, purchase contract, and renovation receipts all into a file folder. Jiang Chenju stood nearby, his voice softening. Shutong, don't make a fuss about the house for now. Jixia will stay a couple of days and leave. After we reschedule the wedding, we can talk things over properly. I stopped what I was doing. Jiang Chenju, do you still think I'm just throwing a tantrum? He looked at me. Aren't you? I laughed. No. I pulled a piece of paper out of the file folder. It was the draft of a prenuptial agreement. Jiang's mother had once given it to me, asking me to sign it. It said that after marriage, I would voluntarily bear part of the household expenses. The wedding house would be used jointly by the couple, and Jiang's mother would have long-term residency rights. I had felt uncomfortable at the time and didn't sign, saying I'd think about it now. That paper had become evidence of her scheming against me. I handed it to Jiang Chenju. Your mom had your cousin write this, didn't she? Jiang Chenju glanced at it, and his face changed slightly. She's doing this for the stability of the family in the future, stable enough that I pay for the house and renovation. Your mom lives here permanently, and you and Shen Jixia can just bring anyone in whenever you want. His voice dropped. Don't drag Jixia into this, I shot back. Isn't she right here right now? The room fell silent. Shen Jixia stood at the master bedroom door, her face alternating between red and pale. I packed my things and pulled my suitcase over as I passed her. I paused. Shen Jixia. She looked up, tears still in her eyes. I said, if you like Jiang Chenju, just fight for him outright. No need to fake being sick, no need to call me sister, and no need to wear my clothes. You're not fragile, you're just greedy. Her tears spilled over. I'm not. Jiang Chenju got angry. Yi Shutong, that's enough. Jixia has always felt guilty toward you. Why do you have to twist everything she does into something malicious? I took the ring box from Tang Miao's hand. I opened it. The ring, once stained with blood, had been wiped clean, lying coldly inside. I set it on the coffee table. Here, take this back. Jiang Chenju's expression shifted sharply. You're serious? I didn't answer. I pulled a notice of eviction from my bag. This house is my marital property. Within 3 days, move your and your mom's stuff out. Shen Jixia leaves now, otherwise, I'll have the property management and my lawyer handle it. Jiang Chenju stared at the paper, as if finally realizing things were slipping out of his control. Shutong, let's talk, I said. We already talked. You can't be this ruthless. I looked at him. On our wedding day, I was sitting in a blood-soaked wedding car, watching the ambulance doors close. Back then, you were more ruthless than me. With that, I grabbed my suitcase and left behind me. Shen Jixia started crying softly. Jiang Chenju didn't follow. The moment the elevator doors closed, Tang Miao asked me, does it hurt? I said, it hurts. She was about to comfort me. I added, but I don't regret it. That night, Shen Jixia posted on Moments a photo of her hand wrapped in gauze, captioned, *Some misunderstandings can never be cleared up. I just hope she stops hating me. *A mutual friend quickly screenshot it and sent it to me. In the comments, someone wrote, Jixia, you're too kind. Another said, some people just had to cause a scene on their wedding day, so unlucky. I read them all, then saved the screenshot into a folder. The folder was named, *Evidence of Shen Jixia's slander*. Tang Miao asked, are you going to fight back? I said, no rush, because some people always show their true colors eventually. On the 7th day, I went to the hospital for a follow-up. The wound was healing okay, but walking still hurt. When Chen Cheng changed my dressing, he saw me gritting my teeth and smiled. If it hurts, say so, no need to tough it out, I said. I'm used to it. The word slipped out before I realized it. Chen Cheng glanced at me. Don't get used to it from now on. It was a light sentence, but it hit me like a small hammer against my chest. I took my follow-up papers and walked out, only to run into Shen Jixia in the hallway. She was in a wheelchair. Jiang Chenju was pushing her. The gauze on the back of her hand was bigger than last time, almost covering half her hand. Her face was made up to look pale, her lips barely colored. From a distance, she looked like she'd just come out of a serious ward. When Jiang Chenju saw me, he instinctively stopped. Shen Jixia spoke first. Sister Shutong, are you here for a follow-up too? I ignored her and tried to walk past, but she suddenly reached out and grabbed my sleeve. Don't blame Chenju anymore, okay? That day, he was just too worried about me. I already told him to go back to you, but he was afraid something would happen to me. I looked down at her hand. Let go. She flinched, tears instantly streaming down. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Jiang Chenju frowned. Shutong, she's apologizing to you, I said. I told her to let go of my sleeve. Shen Jixia released her grip and shrank back. I know you hate me, but that day of the accident, I really didn't mean to be in that car. I never thought you'd get hurt. Why do you have to blame everything on me? People in the hallway started looking over. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was just enough for everyone nearby to hear. I looked at her. Shen Jixia, do you think that as long as you cry fast enough, no one will bother to ask for the truth? Her face went pale. I don't. Then tell the truth. I pointed at her hand. How bad is your injury? Really? Jiang Chenju's voice dropped. Yi Shutong, don't go too far. I turned and walked back to the nurse's station. Chen Cheng was still there. I asked, Dr. Chen, can Shen Jixia's injury record from that day be made public by her personally? Chen Cheng glanced at Shen Jixia. Of course, she has to agree to it herself. Shen Jixia's eyes flickered with panic. I nodded. Then I'll make mine public. I spread out my medical records, stitching reports, and follow-up sheets on the empty table beside me. This is my injury: 7 stitches on my left calf, a lumbar contusion, and a mild concussion. Shen Jixia, if you think I'm wronging you, you can bring out your own injury record. More people gathered around. Shen Jixia bit her lip, tears falling faster. Sister Shutong, I'm not as tough as you. I just want to recover properly, I said. Recovering is fine, but spreading rumors isn't. Jiang Chenju stepped in front of her. Enough. Her hand might scar. Isn't that enough? Chen Cheng suddenly spoke up. Superficial abrasions generally don't affect function. Just change the dressing on time. Jiang Chenju was taken aback. Shen Jixia's face turned even paler. Chen Cheng's tone was professional, devoid of emotion. Of course, if she develops an infection or other issues later, we'll reassess based on follow-ups. But based on the ER record from that day, it was indeed a superficial abrasion. The hallway fell silent. The people who had been looking at Shen Jixia with sympathy moments ago changed their expressions. Tang Miao happened to arrive to pick me up, heard this, and immediately piled on, a superficial abrasion in a wheelchair, 7 stitches walking on her own. Miss Shen, you really know how to stage things. Shen Jixia looked up, her tear-filled eyes fixed on Jiang Chenju. Chenju, am I making things hard for you? Maybe I should just stop treatment. Jiang Chenju immediately crouched down. Don't talk nonsense. Watching this, I suddenly felt no pain at all, not because the wound didn't hurt, but because my heart didn't hurt anymore. Before, seeing him soothe Shen Jixia so gently would make me ache, feel wronged, and question if I was being too petty. Now, I just felt exhausted. I picked up my medical records and turned to leave. Jiang Chenju took 2 steps after me. Shutong, I stopped. He said, did you have to embarrass Jixia in public? I turned around. Jiang Chenju, even now, you only see her embarrassment, not my bleeding. His throat tightened. I continued, I'm not embarrassing her. I'm letting the truth breathe. With that, I left the hospital. Tang Miao helped me into the car. She pulled a stack of printed papers from her bag. There's more to breathe. I looked at her. She handed the papers to me. I found the wedding car route. The original route didn't go through the construction zone. It was changed last minute. The wedding car company said someone sent a new location in the group chat. I flipped through the papers. They were screenshots of the group chat provided by the wedding car driver. At 9:17 a.m. on the wedding day, Shen Jixia sent a message. Chenju, I think I left my medicine bag at the flower shop on Yunjing Road. Can the convoy take a detour? I'm afraid I won't make it through later. Jiang Chenju replied. Take the detour. Jiang's mother replied. Go get it. Jixia's health comes first. I kept reading. The driver warned. Yunjing Road has construction today. The convoy might get stuck in traffic. Shen Jixia replied. Just a few minutes. It won't delay anything. Today is Sister Shutong's big day. I don't want any trouble either. Tang Miao sneered. And trouble happened. I stared at the line. I don't want any trouble either. My fingers tightened bit by bit. Tang Miao said. The driver is willing to testify. He said he didn't want to change the route, but since the groom and his mother agreed, he had to follow. I asked, did they get the medicine bag? Tang Miao shook her head. The flower shop owner said no one ever came to pick it up. I looked out the window. People were coming and going at the hospital entrance. Jiang Chenju pushed Shen Jixia out in a wheelchair. She leaned back, like a flower that would wilt at the slightest breeze. But she wasn't a flower, she was a knife, and Jiang Chenju was the one who handed the knife to me. When the traffic police called us in to handle the aftermath of the accident, Jiang Chenju finally panicked. He called me 5 times. I didn't answer. On the 6th, he sent a message. Shutong, the accident liability hasn't been determined yet. Don't blow this up. Jixia didn't mean it. I replied. I only look at the evidence. He sent another. Let's meet. I replied. See you at the traffic police station. The next morning, Tang Miao and I arrived on time. Jiang Chenju was already waiting in the lobby. He wasn't with Shen Jixia, but with his mother. As soon as Jiang's mother saw me, her face darkened. Yi Shutong, are you really going to pursue this? Who feels good about what happened on the wedding day? Are you trying to push Chenju to the brink? I ignored her and sat down. To the side, Jiang Chenju looked at my legs. Feeling better, I said, let's talk business. His face stiffened. The staff quickly called us in. The accident wasn't particularly complicated. After the convoy entered the construction zone, the lead car braked sharply to avoid a temporary barrier, causing a chain rear-end collision. The main wedding car took the worst hit. I was in the back seat, and my leg got cut by the deformed edge of the seat. The problem was, why did the convoy change its route? Old driver Liu arrived. He was in his 50s, a simple man, and kept rubbing his hands together as soon as he walked in. The original route wasn't set by me. Later, the bride, no, the groom's friend said they needed to pick up a medicine pack from the flower shop. I asked if we could bypass the construction zone, and the groom said to go around. Jiang Chenju frowned. I was just worried about Jixia at the time. Old driver Liu nodded. Yeah, you said her health came first, the staff asked. Old driver Liu to show the chat records. He handed over a printout. Those messages were laid out on the table. Shen Jixia wanted to change the route. Jiang Chenju agreed. Jiang's mother chimed in. The driver warned about the construction. No one listened. After reading it, Jiang's mother immediately said, Jixia was just afraid something would go wrong at the wedding. She's not in good health, and the medicine pack was important. I asked, where's the medicine pack? Jiang's mother choked on her words. The staff looked at her. I handed over a written statement from the flower shop owner. This is a statement from the original flower shop. On the wedding day, no one came to pick up Shen Jixia's so-called medicine pack, and the shop didn't have any such pack stored for her. Jiang Chenju took the paper, and his face slowly changed. Jiang's mother quickly changed her tune. Maybe Jixia remembered wrong. I looked at her, remembered one thing wrong, and changed the entire wedding convoy's route. After the accident, she got a scratch and was taken away in an ambulance, while I got 7 stitches and was left behind. Auntie Ju, do you think remembered wrong is enough? Jiang's mother turned angry. Then what do you want? For Jixia to kneel down and apologize to you? I said, no need. I'll seek compensation from the responsible parties according to the law. Jiang Chenju looked up. You're going to sue Jixia, not just her. He froze. I looked at him. And you? The room went quiet. Jiang Chenju looked like he'd been slapped. Me, you're the one who agreed to change the route, and the one who failed to fulfill your duty of care after the accident. I paused. Even though we haven't gotten the marriage certificate yet, you were one of the main organizers on the wedding day. You're responsible for the convoy scheduling, route confirmation, and on-site handling. Jiang's mother stood up abruptly. You're crazy. You want to sue your own fiancé. I corrected her. Ex-fiancé, Jiang. Chunzhou's face was grim. Shutong, do you really have to take it this far? I said calmly. You're the ones who pushed me here step by step. His fingers tightened. I admit I handled things poorly that day, but if Jixia had actually gotten hurt, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. I looked at him. And what about me? He was silent. He couldn't answer that question because in his priority list, Shen Jixia always came before risk, and I always came after the cleanup. As we walked out of the traffic police station, Jiang Chenju caught up. Shutong, I stopped. He said, let's not be like this. Canceling the wedding is fine, and we can talk about compensation, but don't take it to court. You know my mom can't stand losing face. I smiled. Your mom can't stand the embarrassment, so I'm supposed to get hurt. That's not what I meant. You never mean it, I said, but it always ends up the same way. Jiang Chunzhou's eyes reddened. You used to be willing to understand me. Yeah, I said, so I deserved it back then. He looked like he was choking on his words. I didn't say anything else. I turned and got in the car. That afternoon, I received a transfer from Jiang Chenju, 50,000 yuan note. Consider this compensation first. Don't be mad. I returned it. Then I sent him the settlement list again. It's not about compensating emotions. It's about taking responsibility. Handle it by the items. He didn't reply that night. Jiang's mother went crazy in the group chat again. This time, it wasn't the family group, but the neighborhood owners group. She posted my photo, saying I ran away from the wedding and was now trying to kick her son's family out of the wedding house. Look, everyone, how cold-hearted women are these days. She puts the house in her own name and doesn't treat her in-laws like family. By the time I saw it, people in the group were already discussing it. Some were cursing me for being ruthless. Some said the Jiang family was pitiful. I didn't reply. Immediately, I first contacted the property management to confirm my ownership status. Then I posted 3 pictures in the group: the property deed, the down payment transfer record, the notice to vacate by a set deadline. Finally, I added one sentence: this is my premarital personal residence. The Jiang family contributed no funds. holds no property rights, and has no rental relationship. Please do not spread false information, or I reserve the right to pursue legal action." The owners group went silent. A few minutes later, a neighbor aunt replied, "Isn't this the woman's own house? Why can't they move out?" Another person said, "I heard about the groom carrying another woman away on the wedding day." Public opinion began to shift. Jiang's mother quickly retracted her message, but I still took a screenshot and saved it. Tang Miao asked, "You seem more steady now." I stared at the screen and said softly, "It's not steadiness, it's finally knowing I can't back down." Before, I took a step back, thinking it would earn understanding later. I realized some people treat your retreat as permission to keep hurting you. The Jiang family held a make-up wedding banquet without my consent. The news came from the hotel manager. "Miss Yi, Mr. Jiang said the wedding is postponed to this Saturday. The banquet is still on, just with a simplified process. Should the final payment still be settled from your end per the original contract?" I held the phone and laughed. "Who told you the wedding was postponed?" The manager froze. "Mr. Jiang's mother said you were just throwing a tantrum and would be back soon." I said, "Cancel the wedding, no final payment, deduct the deposit per the contract." The manager hesitated. "But they've already notified the guests." I said, "That's their problem." After hanging up, Jiang Chenzhou's message came through. "Come on Saturday. All the relatives are here. Let's talk things out. Whatever compensation you want, we can discuss it face to face." I replied. "Fine." Tang Miao was shocked. "You're really going?" I nodded. "Yes." "Aren't you afraid they'll pressure you?" "I'm afraid they won't all show up." On Saturday, I wore a black dress. The injury on my leg hadn't fully healed yet. I walked slowly, but it didn't stop me from standing straight. Tang Miao came with me, along with lawyer Qin Wn. Qin Wn was a female lawyer in her 30s, recommended by an old customer of my mom's. She spoke bluntly. After reviewing my materials, she said only one thing: "The evidence chain is solid. Don't be soft." In the hotel lobby, the wedding decorations were still up, red carpet, flower wall, our wedding photos all still in place, but in the photos, my face was half covered by a crooked bouquet. As soon as I walked in, dozens of eyes locked onto me. Jiang's mother immediately approached, forcing a smile but whispering a warning. "Shutong, all the relatives are here today. Don't say anything out of line. Give Chenju a way out, and leave yourself a way back." I looked at her. "Aunt Ju, I'm here to dismantle that way out." Her face stiffened. Jiang Chenju walked over from the stage. Seeing my black dress, he frowned. "On a day like this, you wear black," I said. "It fits." His expression darkened. "Shutong, don't make a scene." I glanced at the red roses in the hall. "Didn't you say we should talk things out?" Shen Jixia was also there. She wore a light blue dress, sitting in the front row, her hand still bandaged. Seeing me, she immediately stood up. "Sister Shutong, I'm here today to apologize to you in person." I said, "No need for apologies, just compensation." Her expression froze. Someone from the relatives' table grumbled, "Why is this girl always talking about money? The wedding's already happened, and she's still not giving any leeway." No wonder Chenzhou's in a bind. I walked up to the stage. The MC froze. Unsure whether to stop me, I took the microphone. Jiang Chenju immediately stepped forward. "Yi Shutong, what are you doing?" I looked at the crowd. "Since you're all here, you might as well be witnesses." The hall slowly fell silent. I placed the ring box on the stage, then set the ledger beside it. "Today isn't a make-up wedding banquet, it's a break-up settlement." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Jiang's mother's face turned pale. She rushed up to grab the microphone. Qin Wn blocked her. "Ms. Ju, please mind the occasion." Jiang's mother trembled with rage. "Who are you?" "Yi Shutong's legal representative." Those 4 words made the crowd even more chaotic. I opened the ledger. The first page listed the wedding expenses. Hotel deposit, 60,000, paid by me. Wedding setup deposit, 35,000, paid by me. Wedding car contract, 28,000, paid by me. Wedding photos, 19,000, paid by me. With each item I read, Tang Miao projected the corresponding receipts onto the big screen. Not surveillance footage, not recordings, contracts, transfers, invoices. Jiang's mother wanted to curse, but the relative's stares silenced her. I turned to the second page. 86,000 for the wedding house down payment, 237,000 for renovations, 164,000 for furniture and appliances, The Jiang family's contribution, 0, someone in the audience gasped. The relative who had called me realistic earlier lowered their head. Jiang Chunzhou's face turned pale. Shutong, stop reading. I looked at him. You asked me to come, didn't you want to talk things out? His voice was hoarse. I didn't mean to embarrass you, I smiled, but you've been embarrassing me all along. I kept flipping pages. Over the past 2 years, I paid for Jiang's mother's medical checkups, medicine, and living expenses totaling 135,000. Aunt Ju once said this was just family taking care of each other. Now that the engagement is off, please negotiate repayment as a loan or unjust enrichment. Jiang's mother finally couldn't hold back a scream. You're lying, that was your voluntary filial piety to me. I nodded. I was voluntary before, but you publicly slandered me in the family group and neighborhood group, saying I ran off with the money and broke the engagement, claiming I took advantage of the Jiang family. So I have to make it clear who took advantage of whom. Someone in the audience muttered, that's really turning the tables. The house was all bought by the woman, and they still have the nerve to blame her. Jiang's mother's face flushed red. Then White Shinjixia suddenly stood up. Sister Shutong, I don't understand money matters, but Chenju really loves you. You can't destroy your 6-year relationship because of me. I looked at her. You don't understand money, but do you understand changing the wedding car route? Her tears stopped. I put the route map on the big screen. On the wedding day, the original route avoided construction zones. Shinjixia claimed she left her medicine bag at the flower shop and asked the convoy to take a detour. The driver warned it was dangerous. Jiang Chenju agreed. Jiang's mother agreed. The flower shop confirmed no medicine bag was ever left there. The audience erupted. Shinjixia's face turned pale. I was too nervous at the time. I must have misremembered. I asked, after you misremembered, did you go get it? She couldn't speak. I asked again. After the accident, you had a scratch on your hand, and Jiang Chenju carried you into the ambulance. Did you remind him that I was still bleeding in the car? Tears fell from her eyes. I was scared too at the time. I nodded. You were scared, so you held on to him. Jiang Chenju was scared too, so he chose you. You both could be afraid, only I had to be strong. Jiang Chenju stood in the audience, his eyes red. Shutong. I picked up the ring box and opened it. Jiang Chenju, this ring, I took it off my bleeding hand on the wedding day. I'm returning it to you now. I placed the ring on the account book. From today, you and I. The engagement is off. The wedding house must be vacated within a set time, expenses settled according to the law, and the accident handled legally. You don't need to make me understand Shinjixia anymore, nor do you need me to be understanding toward your mother. I looked at him, word by word. I'm not the bride anymore. The hall was so quiet you could hear the air conditioner behind the flower wall. Jiang Chenju stood there, as if all his strength had been drained. He looked at the ring but didn't reach for it. Jiang's mother reacted first. She rushed onto the stage and pointed at me, cursing, Yi Shutong, you've disgraced the Jiang family. I brought the microphone closer. Aunt Ju, do you need me to read out the screenshots of your slander in the neighborhood group? She immediately shut up. A relative from the family side urged her, Guilan, stop talking. Your family is in the wrong here. Jiang's mother couldn't believe it. These relatives used to always side with her because she could cry, could say she worked hard, and could paint Jiang Chenju as a pitiful son under my control. But today, the account book was laid out: who paid, who got hurt, who lied. It was all clear. Shinjixia suddenly clutched her chest. Chenju, I don't feel well. Jiang Chenju instinctively took a step toward her. I saw it. Many people saw it. Jiang Chenju realized it himself, stopped, and his face grew paler. Shinjixia's tears burst out. I really don't feel well. I'm not faking it. I didn't say anything, but Tang Miao laughed. Miss Shen, don't rush. If you're not well, you can call a doctor. There's a community hospital right next to the hotel today. Don't let Jiang Chenju carry you away again, or people might misunderstand. Someone in the audience let out a low laugh. Shinjixia's face reddened to her ears. She looked at Jiang Chenju, her voice trembling beautifully. Chenju, should I not have come? This time, Jiang Chenju didn't immediately comfort her. He looked at the route map on the big screen, then at her. Jixia, what really happened with the medicine bag? Shinjixia froze. I misremembered. You never used to misremember medicine. Jiang Chunzhou's voice was low. Shinjixia's eyes flickered, and tears fell again. Are you doubting me now? We've known each other for so many years, don't you know who I am? She had used this line many times in the past. Whenever she said this, Jiang Chenju would back down, but this time, there were so many people watching from the audience. The route map, the flower shop explanation, the medical record comparison all displayed on the screen. Jiang Chenju could no longer pretend not to see. I nodded at Tang Miao. Tang Miao opened another screenshot. It was a chat log from the wedding coordination group, not a private chat, not a secret recording. It was Shen Jixia who had sent it to the wrong group herself. At 11 o'clock the night before the wedding, Shen Jixia asked in the coordination group, "Can the car behind the lead wedding car be reserved for me tomorrow? I'm afraid I'll get nervous if I'm too far from Chenju." The wedding assistant replied, "Miss Shen, that car behind is for the groomsmen and bridesmaids." Shen Jixia responded, "That's fine, Sister Shutong is easy to get along with." Further down, there was another message she sent to the wedding assistant. "As long as Chenju prioritizes me at the critical moment, she'll understand who matters more." Less than a minute after she sent it, she recalled it, but the wedding assistant found it strange at the time and screenshot it to Tang Miao. Tang Miao didn't think much of it then, just felt uncomfortable. It wasn't until after the wedding accident that she dug out this screenshot. The big screen lit up, and Shen Jixia froze completely. Jiang Chenju stared at that sentence, his lips twitching. "Jixia, did you send this?" Shen Jixia's face turned deathly pale. "I was in a bad mood that day. I was just talking nonsense." I looked at her. "You weren't talking nonsense, you were testing." She jerked her head toward me. I said, "You tested him many times, tested if he would change the bouquet for you, tested if he would stay up late chatting with you, tested if he would alter the wedding car route for you, tested if he would hold you first after the accident." I paused. "Every time, he chose you." Shen Jixia shook her head, crying, "It's not like that." I turned to Jiang Chenju. "But this isn't entirely her fault." She reached out, "And you took her hand," she cried out in pain, "and you went to her." She shed a tear, "And you told me to be understanding." Jiang Chenju, "You weren't deceived, you were willing." As these words fell, Jiang Chenju's face lost all color. He wanted to explain, but couldn't utter a single word. Someone in the audience murmured, "This isn't a childhood friend, this is deliberate sabotage of the wedding. The guy is ridiculous too." The bride was bleeding and he still held someone else. The woman was right to back out. The tide had completely turned. Jiang's mother sat in her chair, her lips trembling. She probably realized for the first time that crying and making a scene didn't always work. Qin Wn walked onto the stage and placed several documents on the table. "Mr. Jiang, MS, Ju, this is a formal notice. Property occupation, asset return, wedding cancellation fee settlement, personal injury compensation. We will proceed according to procedure. If defamatory remarks continue to be spread, MS, you will pursue legal action." Jiang Chenju didn't look at the documents, he only looked at me. "Shutong, what if I say I was wrong?" I smiled slightly. "Then face the consequences. Can't we start over?" The audience fell silent again. Shen Jixia's head shot up, as if she'd been stabbed. Jiang's mother also panicked. "Chenju." I looked at Jiang Chenju. If this question had been asked a month ago, I might have cried. If it had been asked the day before the wedding, I might have asked him, "What about Jixia? What about your mother? What about our 6 years?" But now, he just felt like a stranger to me. He didn't want to start over because he loved me. He wanted to because he had lost control, because I no longer waited for him, no longer appeased his mother, no longer looked after Shen Jixia, no longer paid the Jiang family's bills, no longer helped him maintain his dignity. So he panicked. I said, "Jiang Chenju, your regret is not my new beginning." His eyes turned red. "Shutong." I placed the microphone back on its stand. "That's enough for today." I turned and walked off the stage. When I reached the door, Shen Jixia suddenly called out, "Yi Shutong." I looked back. She no longer called me sister. Her makeup was ruined from crying, and there was hatred in her eyes. "You won. Are you satisfied? You've pushed me to this point, and Chenju will never truly let me go." I glanced at her. "Shen Jixia, I don't want him anymore." She froze. I continued, "You don't have to fight for him anymore, whatever's left. You handle it yourself." With that, I pushed open the door to the banquet hall. The sunlight outside was bright. The red carpet lay behind me. I didn't look back. After the rescheduled wedding banquet, the Jiang family fell into complete chaos. First, Jiang's mother cried in the family group chat. saying I had hired a lawyer to bully people, but one relative replied to her, Guilan, the bills are all laid out, you'd better pay back the money first. She posted another long post on her Moments, saying, girls nowadays are too realistic, wanting the house in their name before marriage, then turning their backs when trouble hits soon. Someone asked below, did the guy pay for the house? Jiang's mom deleted the post. Jiang Chenju started messaging me frequently, Shutong, I can move out, but don't push my mom too hard. I'll handle Jixia. I know you've been wronged. Let's meet and talk. Okay. I didn't reply to a single one. It wasn't that I didn't see them, I finally learned not to respond. Before, if Jiang Chenju sent just one let's talk, I'd soften immediately, I'd drop everything and rush over to hear him out, then he'd explain for an hour, and it'd end with me understanding him. Not anymore. At the apartment, the property management notified me that the Jiang family was moving things out. Before leaving, Jiang's mom tried to take the washing machine and fridge I bought. The property called me, and I had them check against the list. Jiang's mom yelled over the phone, Yi Shutong. You're counting a fridge, I said, it's mine. She hung up in a rage. That afternoon, she came to the noodle shop again. This time, she didn't bring relatives, just Jiang Chunjo's aunt. It was just past lunchtime, and my mom was wiping tables. Jiang's mom sat down as soon as she entered, her eyes red and swollen, like she'd cried all night. Sholan, let's talk, mother to mother. My mom paused for a moment. Jiang's mom seized the chance. When kids fight, elders shouldn't fan the flames. Shutong is young and impulsive, you need to talk some sense into her. The wedding's already at that stage. Backing out now would be so ugly. How will she ever marry again? I came out from the back room. Auntie Ju, my mom doesn't need to talk me into anything. Jiang's mom saw me, her expression stiffened, then she forced a smile. Shutong, Auntie knows you've been wronged, but Chenju hasn't had it easy either. He's lost weight. You've been together for 6 years. How can you just cut it off? I pulled out a chair and sat down. I can. Jiang's mom's smile faltered. She looked at my mom. Sholan, say something. Running a noodle shop alone isn't easy. You should know how important marriage is for a woman. If Shutong keeps this up, she'll be the one losing out. My mom put down the rag. I used to think that way too. Jiang's mom's eyes lit up. My mom continued. So when my daughter was mistreated at your house, I always told her to be more understanding. You looked down on us for being poor. I took it. You made my daughter transfer you living expenses. I took it. You changed the wedding menu before the ceremony and complained about our few relatives. I took it too. She looked up at Jiang's mom. I took it all until my daughter walked down the aisle bleeding, while your son carried someone else. Jiang's mom's lips twitched. That was an accident. And after the accident, my mom's voice was low but steady. You came to my shop and made a scene, accused her of running off with the money. You slandered her in the group chat. You took over her apartment and tried to take the appliances she bought. Ju Guilan, you're not here to make peace. You're here because you see my daughter isn't easy to push around anymore. So you're trying to get to me. Jiang's mom's face turned ugly. The aunt quickly tried to smooth things over. Don't be so harsh. In-laws. My mom looked at her. We're not in-laws, no marriage certificate. That sentence felt even better coming from her than from me. Jiang's mom stood up abruptly. Lin Sholan, don't be ungrateful. My mom picked up her phone. Say one more word, and I'll call the police. Last time you came to cause trouble, I let it slide. Today, there are customers in the shop, neighbors, and we have payment records and delivery platform timestamps. If you disrupt my business, I'll demand compensation. Jiang's mom froze. She never expected my mom to say that. Neither did I. My mom glanced at me, a little embarrassed, but didn't back down. My daughter taught me. She said, always keep evidence. Jiang's mom's face turned green with rage. She spun around and left at the door. She turned back. Yi Shutong, if you push Chenju too far, he won't come back. I said, I hope not. She slammed the door and left. My mom held it together for a few seconds. Then her legs gave out and she slumped into a chair. I quickly steadied her. She patted her chest. Was Mom scary just now? I smiled and nodded. Really scary. She laughed too. But as she laughed, her eyes reddened. Tong Tong, Mom used to be afraid you'd be laughed at for calling off the wedding, afraid you'd have a hard time later. Now I get it. You don't live for others. If you'd married into that family, that would have been the real hardship. I hugged her. Mom, I'll be fine. Yeah, she said. You have to be fine. That night, I handed all the materials to Qin Dublin. After Qin Wn finished reading, she said, 3 lines of attack at once. First, property occupation and asset return. Second, wedding expense settlement. Third, accident liability. And defamation. Are you sure you don't want to settle privately? I said, we can mediate, but there needs to be a written apology, full compensation, and the move-out completed. Qin Wn nodded. Clear stance is enough. I asked, will it take long? She said, it might drag out. But you have solid evidence. They can't afford to stall. I looked at the documents on the table. Every single sheet felt like pieces of myself I'd picked up from the past 6 years. Jiang Chenju once said I was too fond of keeping accounts, that it wasn't romantic. Now those unromantic accounts had pulled me out of a wrecked marriage. On the day of mediation, Jiang Chenju arrived early. He wore a white shirt, his stubble unshaven, looking exhausted. His mother sat beside him, her face dark. Shen Jixia also showed up. She wasn't in a wheelchair, and the bandages on her hand were gone, replaced by just a small band-aid. When she saw me, she instinctively hid her hand in her sleeve. Qin Wn sat next to me. Arranging the documents in order, the mediator started first. The main disputes between both parties are threefold. First, the settlement of expenses after the engagement was called off. Second, the return of property from the occupied house. Third, compensation related to the wedding accident. We'll go through them one by one. Jiang's mother immediately said, we've already moved out of the house and didn't take any of her stuff. What more does she want? Qin Wn flipped open the list. The refrigerator, washing machine, TV, and mattress were all purchased by Ms. Yi. Mrs. Ju once arranged for a moving company to try and take them, but the property management stopped them. We have the property management records and the moving company's order here. Jiang's mother's face stiffened. The mediator looked at her. Is there still a dispute on this part? Jiang's mother gritted her teeth. Didn't we not move them out in the end? Qin Wn said. An attempt doesn't mean it didn't happen. Later, please sign a commitment not to enter the house again. Jiang's mother was so angry she couldn't speak. Second item, wedding expenses. Jiang's mother spoke up again. The wedding was supposed to be jointly hosted by both families. She volunteered to pay. Now that she's calling off the engagement, we have to pay her back. I looked at her. Auntie Ju, the direct reason the wedding was called off was that Jiang Chenju abandoned the bride on the wedding day, and your subsequent slander and coercion. It wasn't me calling it off for no reason. Jiang Chenju lowered his head. The mediator reviewed the materials and said, currently, the contract payments were mostly made by Ms. Yi, for the hotel deposit. After deducting the part according to the contract, should the remainder be returned, I said, the refunded part from the hotel goes to me. For the non-refundable losses, the responsible party bears the cost proportionally. Jiang's mother immediately slammed the table. On what grounds? Qin Wn pushed over the medical records, group chat screenshots, and route change logs. On these grounds, Jiang's mother fell silent. Then came the accident liability. Shen Jixia finally spoke up. I admit I said something about the medicine pouch, but I really didn't mean it. I was just too nervous. I got hurt too. Tang Miao, sitting in the observer seat, let out a cold laugh. The mediator reminded her to stay quiet. I looked at Shen Jixia. You said the medicine pouch was left at the flower shop, but the shop proved it wasn't. You said you were just a passenger, but the chat records show you requested adjustments to the convoy's formation. You said you didn't know I was injured, but at least 3 witnesses at the scene heard Tang Miao calling out to Jiang Chenju, saying my leg was bleeding. Shen Jixia's eyes reddened. It was too chaotic then. I couldn't hear. I nodded, then let the witnesses speak. Tang Miao stood up. Old driver Liu also came and the wedding assistant. They each described the situation that day. One by one, Tang Miao said, I called Jiang Chenju 3 times. He heard me and even turned back to say to let Shutong come out first. Old driver said, the bride's side was indeed seriously injured. I also advised calling an ambulance to handle it together, but Mr. Jiang carried Miss Shen up first. The wedding assistant said, Miss Shen kept wanting to get close to the groom before the wedding. I thought it was inappropriate at the time, but she said the bride was easygoing. Every word wasn't heavy, but each one was like a stone, pressing down on Jiang Chenju's face. He finally looked up. Shutong, I'm sorry. No one spoke in the mediation room. I looked at him. You should have said that at the accident scene. His eyes reddened. I know, but it's useless now. Jiang's mother panicked. Chenju, don't let her manipulate you. She just wants you to bow down. Jiang Chenju suddenly turned his head. Mom, that's enough. Jiang's mother froze. This was probably the first time Jiang Chenju had publicly told her to shut up. If it had been before, I might have felt a flicker of satisfaction, but not now. A belated awakening is worthless to me. The mediation lasted 3 hours. In the end, a preliminary agreement was reached. The Jiang family completed the handover of the house keys and signed the commitment within the deadline. Jiang's mother publicly retracted her false statements and issued a written clarification in both the family group chat and the community group chat. Wedding losses were to be borne according to each party's share of responsibility. Shen Jixia was required to bear partial compensation for the damages caused by the last-minute route change. Jiang Chenju bore the primary responsibility for apologies and compensation. All payments were to be made in 2 installments. When signing, Jiang's mother's hands were trembling. Shen Jixia asked Jiang Chenju through tears, "Are you really going to make me pay for this?" Jiang Chenju looked at her, his eyes complex. "Jixia, you have a part in this." She stared at him as if she didn't recognize him. "You weren't like this before." That line sounded so familiar. I suddenly laughed. Jiang Chenju heard it and looked up at me. I said, "She thinks you've changed too." His face turned sour. I packed up the documents and stood to leave. Jiang Chenju chased me to the ground floor. "Shutong." I stopped. He said, "I'll do what the mediation says. I'll pay back the money too. I won't go to the house anymore." "Good, me and Jixia." He paused. "I'll keep my distance." I looked at him. "That's your business." Pain flickered in his eyes. "You really don't care at all anymore." I didn't answer right away. The wind blew, and the wound on my leg tightened faintly. I remembered the accident scene, the ambulance door closing, and his words, "You need to be strong." I said, "I did care." His eyes lit up. I continued, "I died that day." The light in his eyes went out. I turned and walked toward the street behind me. He shouted, "What if I hold another wedding? This time, I'll only choose you." I didn't look back. "Jiang Chenju, it's not that I'm missing a wedding. What I'm missing is someone who would walk toward me while I was bleeding, and that person won't be him." The original wedding hotel notified me to pick up the refunded portion and my personal items. I chose a weekday afternoon. The lobby was nearly empty, the red carpet was gone, and the flower wall was half dismantled. A few bouquets of white roses lay withered in the corner, their petals curling at the edges, like a joke that never finished. The hotel manager handed me the refund slip. "Miss Yi, I'm truly sorry." I shook my head. "It's not your fault." The manager hesitated. "Mr. Jiang is here too." I looked up. Jiang Chenju walked out of the banquet hall. He was holding the ring box. It looked like he had been waiting for a long time. I signed the refund slip and put it away. He walked up to me. "Shutong, I know you don't want to see me, but there are things I still need to say." I said, "Go ahead." He looked at the empty banquet hall. "That day at the wedding, I really did want to spend the rest of my life with you. It wasn't a lie." I didn't respond. He continued, "I'm used to taking care of Jixia. She grew up with our family. No one else looked out for her. I always thought if I took care of her a little more, you would understand. But I forgot. You needed me too." I looked at him. "You didn't forget, you just never put it first." His face paled. "Shutong, when I carried Jixia onto the ambulance that day, I really thought you weren't that badly hurt. Tang Miao called out to you. I heard her." His voice turned hoarse. "But I thought you could hold on." I laughed. "So Dr. Chen was right. That wedding should have been a funeral." He jerked his head up. I looked at the red carpet that was already gone. What was buried was that wedding, not me. Jiang Chenju's eyes reddened. "Can I try to win you back?" "No need." "Why?" "Because this wasn't a one-time mistake." I said, "You made this choice for 6 years." He gripped the ring box tighter. I continued, "Shen Jixia wanted the bouquet. You told me to give in. She wanted to sit closer. You told me to give in. She felt sick in the middle of the night. You left me to go to her. Your mom told me to pay up, to be understanding, to not make a fuss, and you told me to endure." The wedding day just magnified all of it. Jiang Chenju stood frozen in place. "I can change, but I don't want to wait anymore." Tears fell from his eyes. This was the first time I had ever seen Jiang Chenju cry. I used to think that if he ever cried for me, I would soften, but now that I actually saw it, I only felt distant. Like watching an old movie that had nothing to do with me. I took a small envelope from my bag. Inside was the final item receipt. The property management already got the house keys. Your mom's things are cleared out. Transfer the remaining payments as agreed. Don't contact me again." He took the envelope, his fingers trembling. 6 years together. "And all that's left is these receipts," I said. "No." He looked at me. I pointed at the scar on my leg. "And this." His throat tightened. I didn't stay any longer. As I walked out of the hotel, Jiang Chenju suddenly called out from behind, "Yi Shutong." I stopped but didn't turn around. He said, "If I had carried you into the ambulance first that day, would we have ended up like this?" I thought for a moment. "No." He seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. I continued, "Because if you really would have carried me first, none of this would have happened." There was complete silence behind me. I walked out of the hotel. The sunlight was bright. My mom was waiting for me by the roadside. She was riding that old electric scooter, with a basket of freshly bought vegetables in the front. Seeing me, she waved. "Tong Tong, come home for dinner." I smiled and walked over. "What's for dinner today?" "Tomato beef brisket noodles," she said. "I'll put extra meat in for you." I sat on the back seat and hugged her waist. When I was little, I used to sit behind her like this too. Back then, I thought that when I grew up and got married, I'd have a home of my own. Later, I realized that a home isn't built by a wedding. A home is someone who, when you're hurt, asks you first, "Does it hurt?" I pressed my face against my mom's back. The wind brushed past my ears. The hotel behind me grew farther and farther away. The day the accident liability report came out, I was working at the rehabilitation center. A colleague handed me the package. "Shutong, your documents." I signed for it and opened it. Black and white, clear as day. The wedding car's last-minute detour into a construction zone was one of the key causes of the accident. The driver bore driving liability, the wedding car company bore management liability, and those who requested the detour and confirmed the route change bore corresponding civil liability. I sent the document to Chin Wan. She replied quickly, "We can proceed with the compensation based on the mediation agreement. If they don't comply, go straight to litigation." I replied, "Okay." That afternoon, the first payment came through from Jiang Chenju. Memo, settlement payment, phase 1, no extra words. A few minutes later, Jiang's mother posted a clarification in the family and friends group chat. Previous statements about Yi Shutong absconding with money before the wedding and occupying the Jiang family's property are untrue. The wedding house was Yi Shutong's personal property, and most of the wedding expenses were paid by Yi Shutong. Due to my emotional outburst, I caused misunderstandings. I now apologize to Yi Shutong. The wording was stiff. Clearly, it was revised under Chin Wan's supervision, but that was fine. I wanted the result, not her genuine remorse. In the neighborhood group chat, she posted the same clarification. Some of the people who had been gossiping privately apologized to me. Others pretended nothing had happened. I didn't care. I didn't need everyone to like me. I just needed them to stop being able to trample on me whenever they wanted. Shen Jixia's social media went silent. I heard from Tang Miao that she and Jiang Chenju had a fight. The reason was simple. She refused to bear part of the compensation. She said Jiang Chenju had changed, that he used to protect her. Jiang Chenju asked her why she had sent that message before the wedding. "As long as he prioritizes me, she'll understand. Who's more important?" Shen Jixia cried and said it was just a joke. Jiang Chenju didn't believe her anymore, but whether he believed her or not no longer mattered. Their messy accounts were for them to settle. A month later, the stitches on my leg were all removed, leaving only a faint red scar. During the follow-up, Chen Cheng said, "Recovery is going well." I asked, "Will it leave a scar?" She said, "It'll fade, but it might not disappear completely." I nodded, "That's fine." She looked up at me. I smiled, a reminder to never endure until I bleed again. Chen Cheng smiled too. "That's an expensive reminder." "Yes," I said, "but effective." As I walked out of the hospital, I saw Jiang Chenju standing at the entrance. He had lost a lot of weight. He wasn't holding flowers or a ring, just looking at me. "I'm not stalking you," he explained first. "I came to pick up my test results and happened to see you." I nodded. He looked at my leg. "Recovering well?" "Pretty well." "That's good." Silence fell between us. We used to have endless things to say. Later, the most he said was to tell me to be understanding. Now, there was finally nothing left to say. Jiang Chenju said softly, "Shutong, I've cut ties with Jixia." I looked at him. "You don't need to tell me." He gave a bitter smile. "I know, but I still wanted you to know that I really understand now." I said, "Glad you understand. Will you ever forgive me?" I didn't answer right away. A couple passed by the hospital entrance. The girl held a medical report, and the boy carried her bag. She walked slowly, so he matched her pace. An ordinary scene, but I watched it for a long time. Then I said to Jiang Chenju, I can stop hating you. His eyes lit up faintly. I continued, but I won't want you anymore. That glimmer died out. He lowered his head. I understand. I walked past him. This time, he didn't follow. When I returned to the noodle shop, my mom was rolling out dough. The shop had a new sign. It used to be called Shoulan Noodle House. Now it's called Tonglan Bistro. My mom said adding my name made it feel like we were a team. I sat behind the cash register and took out the ruined wedding dress. Tang Miao had picked it up for me a few days ago. The white fabric still had faint bloodstains along the edges that wouldn't wash out. I didn't throw it away. I cut off a small piece of clean lace and tucked it into a new notebook. On the first page, I wrote the date. Then I wrote, starting today, I won't mistake suffering for maturity. When Tang Miao walked in and saw me writing, she leaned in to look. New ledger. I said, new life. She smiled. So what's the first entry? I thought for a moment. An income. What kind of income? I looked up, gazing out the window. The afternoon sun fell on the street, with pedestrians coming and going. My mom called me from the kitchen for dinner. Tang Miao urged me to order bubble tea. My phone had no messages from Jiang Chenju, and the settlement payment arrived on time. I slowly closed the notebook. Freedom.